New England, new name. That and much more on this week's episode of the Indy Ball Report podcast. All right, 244 episodes later, we're here. So, we have a new name. We have Red Hawk stuff. We got Revolution stuff. We got a coaching carousel. We got a holiday on the horizon that I've made very public that, you know, it's an overrated holiday. And that's where we're at. Do you agree there, the Grinch that lives on the hill in Reading?
I mean, are you talking Thanksgiving right now?
Yes, I'm talking about Thanksgiving, but I went to a Christmas reference because, like the contemporary world, we could just skip over Thanksgiving and get right to the holidays.
That's a bad take. Thanksgiving should be savored for longer because it's about food, and that's really it. And that's right up my alley, technically. So. Yeah, well, that's a you problem, man. You can work that out in therapy. Don't make it our problem.
Well, hey, some of us don't believe in therapy, so, like, I'd rather just use essential oils and crystals to clear my bad thoughts.
I just lick handrails in public and see what happens.
Another reason why you're not allowed in 31 of 50 states.
Yeah, getting there. Almost 50 for 50, baby.
Full collection. Wind up getting deported to Guam.
Gotta catch 'em all.
I can see it now. They'll try to deport you to Canada and they'll be like, no, we don't want them either.
Oh, I could see that for sure.
We're a couple of chowderheads, and so are the New England team. That's our segue.
Nice, nigga.
Yeah, that was decent. So New England finally came up with a name. They picked Chowderheads, which, as you may remember from, 2 weeks ago? Last week? We said, this could be a problem thing because there's already a Chowderheads, but there wasn't a Chowderheads. So we're going to find out what the legal ramifications for picking a oddly similar name are. But by and away, that is the best of the names there. I think we had Nor'easters, Chowder Eaters. There was another chowder related one. And a couple other just garbage.
Chowder Monsters.
Chowder Monsters. That's correct. I don't have it in front of me, which is really bad because I have the notebook with all the notes in front of me. So I should probably just flick over a couple of pages and get the correct information.
It was like Chowderheads, Chowder Monsters, Nor'easters. Something else felt like boxing related. Yeah, we did pretty well.
Yeah, here's the problem. Was like, two of these names are extremely forgettable. Nor'easters was like very plain, and we were like, there's already New England University Nor'easters, so that's not going to fly. And then it became the two chowder ones. So I guess this struggle to figure out the names really indicates they went with the right choice.
Yeah, I guess they did. I'm still interested to see the legal side of things here. There seems to be a contingent that feels it will not be a problem. I guess they don't feel it'll be a problem, or I can't imagine they're unaware. I mean, all you have to do is Google the name. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
I mean, like, we should really
I think of the options, it was the right call.
We really should ask ourselves the very important question, which is, does a professional indoor box lacrosse league team have the financial resources to pursue this in court?
I mean, or is there any team that could be more desperate to pursue it in court than them?
See,
so I could also see that world.
I mean, they may be desperate. If they can't afford to do it, they can't afford to do it.
Also true. I'll represent myself, says a Lax Bro.
The problem is the Lax Bro's father is probably an attorney, so they're going to get cheap coverage.
That actually, see, it's all coming together now. Everything's coming up. Chowderheads.
You won't believe what they're doing to my son Draxon's lacrosse team.
Nice.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Quick, throw the golden retriever in the Range Rover. We got to get to the courthouse quick to file this motion.
The golden retriever is just the kid.
No, then the kid's name would be like Scout or something.
No, fair.
But yeah, see, like, here's the thing, like, legal issues aside, it is a solid name. Like, I don't want to rehash what we said too much 2 weeks ago, but, like, at the same point in time, like, it is a good name. I find it a little bit unusual. They unveiled the name, but did not have a logo ready to go with it. You would have thought they would have had, like, at least the word mark ready to run with this thing in the announcement.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just feels odd. Like, it's quite clear that they wanted to get this branding out quickly. That's why, the whole name the team contest took place in the course of about, 45 days, if that. So what seemed kind of like an aggressive push, which I presume would be so that way you could start selling merchandise for the holiday season and start to really work that brand recognition in, kind of like Hagerstown's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume if that's the purpose, then you would have that logo ready to roll and ready to run with. And if you're not going to have the logo ready for the name reveal, why not just hold off on the name reveal until you have the logo and you have merchandise ready to sell? Because you should feel confident enough in the brand you're about to unveil to say, this is going to sell merchandise, this is going to be popular. And you would think you'd want to capitalize on that early momentum from first unveiling the name and having people go, ooh, I need to have that, before they actually stop to think, like, do I need to have that? And get them to buy that shirt, buy that hat, buy that whatever. So, it just feels a little bit odd to kind of do this sequentially. But, hey, it's just a small observation.
Yeah, I mean, look, they could do a really cool, like, merch, like, rollout countdown, and it will make some sense. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's good to have merch day one ready to rock.
Yeah, especially with you figure you were about a week away from Black Friday, you could have those sales going.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. Yeah, it's all a little surprising.
Yeah, which would have kind of been
I'm
fun.
sure it's fine.
Yeah, what would have been a really cool, like, promotional idea if they would have expedited the timeline on getting the whole name the team thing out, so that way you could have gotten it all done in October. You could have done like a 12 days of Thanksgiving, kind of like the play on, the 12 days of Christmas, and had it leading up there. So each day drops a new merch item as you get closer and closer and closer to Black Friday. The final one drops Thanksgiving Day, and then you have a Black Friday sale where it's like 25, or like not 25, but let's say like 10 or 15% off your first purchase. You spend like 35 or more, it's free shipping.
Yeah, I can tell that you're not in that front office, but maybe it'll be fine.
Which for any other new teams coming about, steal that idea, go for it. Figure free shipping is a surprisingly large motivator for a lot of people. Just saying. But
yeah, I'm just looking around. I'm still trying to get a vibe for what that organization's going to be like up there. Hear a lot of mixed messages from local people up there.
Yeah.
Also, not hearing a lot of buzz, like, news-wise up there, which is a little concerning.
Yeah. There was the Nesson article, but that's pretty much it. Like, I think there was one Nesson article, a Boston Globe, and then that was it.
Yeah, really not much in the way of follow-up. So, we'll see. I mean, there's still time to gain momentum. I mean, there's still like 5-6 months until the season, but just Brockton just makes me nervous in general. So I'm like very much like, oh boy, like come on now, get some momentum, please.
Yeah, you just feel like, okay, I would really like to see you guys like starting to get out there and like raise some awareness, especially now that you have a name and will soon hopefully have the identity of the team around. Like, let's get to those like Christmas marketplaces. Let's get to those like holiday events in the community and whatnot. Let's set up a table there. If you're going to have like a Christmas parade, maybe you try to get like a float or something, or at least sponsor a thing and have like a delegation that's walking with like a big banner or something through there, and you toss like candy canes or something like that, like stuff you could do here. I'd like to see you getting active and involved from the onset. That's normally healthy organizational behavior.
Yeah, it's all, look, again, maybe, they just don't have staff for it. It could be, I don't know. This team was just announced not long ago. So, like, I'm trying to keep that in mind as well. So
about 60 days.
Yeah. So try and take deep breaths and be like, well, we'll see.
But, like, at the same time, though, like, just because it wasn't publicly announced until I think it was like September 23rd.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's started as an organization that day. I know. You
would assume everything's in place there already, and if you're kind of bumming off of some of the staff that works for the other team, and you figure the same ownership group owns Windy City, you'd at least be able to like spare some pieces doing some remote work so that way you could have on the ground people, at least early on.
Not the way I would have gone about it, but doesn't mean that it won't work out. Dude, I'm trying so hard to be positive here and you're not letting me move on.
Look, our positivity segment doesn't come on until later on. So until then, you're in the doldrums. Live with it.
So screwed.
Look, someone hire me. Any case, let's move on.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
You and I could team up and be the most dysfunctional front office ever.
But we'd be fun.
As long as I post on Facebook enough, according to somebody.
Well, how else would we sell tickets?
I shouldn't even open the can of worms, so I can't help myself.
Oh, God. We'd either go under in 6 months, or it would be oddly successful.
Oh, either way, there's going to be a Netflix documentary.
So, on that note, we're going to talk about someone else that got hired, which is Carl Hoyam, which I probably mispronounced that name. This is definitely a less than smooth transition, but he goes from VP and Director of Promotions to GM of the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks. Replaces Matt Rao, who was the GM since 2018. Rao stepped aside for personal reasons and was essentially not there for the overwhelming majority of the 2023 season. Now this is just kind of making the interim permanent, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, a couple, like on the baseball side of things, we did note that Fargo seemed to take a step back this year. You do wonder how much of that was relevant, whether it's just a straight talent level thing as a GM or whether it's just, new guy covering as the interim person type of issue.
Yeah. Mixed signal type of thing too.
Yeah. So there could be some of that. But it is worth watching going into now what would essentially be year one full time. For Carl Hoyam, that's what I was going with.
Yeah, I think that's it. I really don't know how to go for that one.
Yeah, and the other side, Matt Rowell spoke about dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, and I think just a reminder of if you're out there, you can only do what you can do. Like get help if you need help, and know your limits, or understand your limits and understand that it's fine. I can't imagine having to, I can't literally, I did that job actually, but so no, I get it. But I didn't do it for nearly as long. But the days when you can barely take care of yourself or barely back yourself up or barely even believe in what's going on in front of you. And then having to be the support and, basically the main support mechanism for 25 to 30 grown adults is that's a lot, man. That's a lot to get out of bed and deal with every morning. So, I think this is the right move. You got to be in a certain headspace to be able to, I'm not saying that, baseball GMs and baseball ops people are out here, saving the world or whatever, but it is one of those things where it's hey man, you're responsible for a lot. There's guys trusting not only their career, but the future of their career and, their current, the money for their families all on your decision making, man. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Obviously it weighs heavy, and for however long Matt was dealing with it, he dealt with it very well. It didn't affect the work at all, and obviously you have to take care of yourself first and foremost, so stepping away is the right decision, and I'm sure Carl will do an admirable job as well. A lot of what Matt did, he can be really proud of the result he got, and hopefully he gets in the right mind space and can get back into the industry and get back to doing something he enjoys doing. So hopefully for that.
Yeah,
But on that note, we go to the definition of an off-season story, which is not a radio deal, but they will come, I guarantee you, and I will cover them because I like radio deals. They're weird, and I like it.
Hey, man, I'll ride with you there.
Yeah.
Give
me your AMs and FM radios. Huddle masses.
The real Statue of Liberty of obscure communication methods.
Give me your AM airwaves. Yearning to play free with minimum static.
Oh. Well done. I'm impressed by your work there.
Well, it won't have static anymore? York Scoreboard, because they have a new one. And it's 1,700 square feet. It's like twice as big as the current one. I wonder what they're compensating for. And, apparently their games could be streamed in HD and 4K now, because now they got cameras that can do that. Now, that's not saying they'll be able to stream it like that, nor is it saying that you will be able to watch it in that. There's a lot of different things that go into it. It's not just like point the 4K camera and now it's there. You got to have like the proper equipment to view it in it. But like, that said, they're doing their
end. It shows a desire. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're trying to make it better. They're trying to deal with the, company that shall not be named that does the same thing a river does.
Yeah, oh my God. Well, I don't know. I'm choosing to feel positive about it. I mean, it's a good thing for at least the fans viewing experience. I like York. I have a soft spot for that ballpark.
And they have a cannon.
But yeah, and they do have a lot of good stuff there. So it's nice to have like the ballpark like fully be up to modern day standards. And the board wasn't like an eyesore, but definitely left something to be desired. Yeah, I think, I don't know, this is a good thing. I mean, there's a lot that money could be spent on. This is somewhat a choice. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I guess I'm just saying, like, I hope maybe when it comes to like player living arrangements, we might also see a little bit of uptick in, funding, because I've heard a few stories of that being a little difficult in York. So let's just make sure it's not just all going to a video board, I would hope. But for the most part, I other than that, I'm happy about this. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person. I'll probably be there first week or so of the season.
If you were listening, you'd know it didn't all go to a video board. It also went to 4K cameras.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sure. It didn't all go to the digital technology side of things.
Communication front, sir. Please.
Whatever. Oh my God.
Some of us slaved away and worked countless hours for, really 2 years to get the art of communication down, as you can tell from this show.
Pathetic. Meanwhile, I worked and got a marketing degree in 6 years, like a real man.
Yeah. Screw those
you got a master's? I did not. Yeah, I know. I was like, how do I get this back on track? How do I force this back in the direction I was hoping to go in?
Well, we could go ahead and talk about things that are fun. We could talk about fun things like carousels.
Yeah, man. All right. We can update the coaching carousel.
Yeah, we want to go on the coaching carousel. We could start in Long Island, but I'm not sure we have any other Long Island adjacent news before we get to talking about their new manager.
I mean, I was just going to mention that whole Cole Cottom drama that came from him getting assigned or traded, I guess, to the Long Island Ducks, and had some very vocal support saying that was an above board deal until I argued with evidence that, hey, this seems to have been a little bit sketchy with lack of representation on the Frederick side of the trade. I've had radio silence since, so, just interesting, I would say. Just interesting.
Coincidence, no doubt.
Oh, bro. Anyway, I got that. That was your update on the Long Island side. But the big news is news that did you find the new Long Island Ducks coach to be a surprise, or was this as expected?
I'm shocked. Well, okay, not that shocked. The gift got a lot of use this week, so I'm happy with that. It's Lou Ford, by the way, in case you couldn't tell by our reaction. Lou Ford's the new manager of the Ducks. We've been kind of saying that for 2 weeks. I mean, like, this was the second most obvious one. Pete was by far the most obvious. Let's get that out of the way.
Sure.
But, like, Lou was a damn close runner-up.
Yeah, the only thing that sort of caused me to hesitate was the amount of time it took to name that.
Yeah.
Name him as the manager. It also... No, I think I don't know. I'm not going to read into it. I think it was probably just normal stuff. Like,
I think just due diligence.
If they bothered to interview anybody else. I'm trying to think whether I would have rather. I don't think you want to like overshadow Wally on the way out. So that's part of it. Because I was like, would you rather have had Lou ready to rock, like that announcement, like time it? So it's like Wally will be leaving, thank him for everything, yada yada. We're happy to announce Lou Ford will be managing the team from now on. Like, would that have been a smooth way to go about it? 'Cause they did take a little bit of heat on socials for when Wally left. And I feel like that definitely would have smoothed it, because most people who, are checked in enough to have an issue with Wally, I'm not saying they're right to, but just to have an opinion, you're right, that was the way to say that, would also be like, oh yeah, okay, Lou Ford.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the reports were that Lou was pretty active in not the managing, but like the day-to-day of the team down the stretch run into the playoffs. And I mentioned previously, I was really thrown off. I even mentioned, I think, live when we were recording, when I was at the game, that I was really just surprised by the lack of energy from not only the Ducks team, but specifically Wally. So it's interesting, but we'll see what a little bit of rejuvenation from Lewis. I think this is a job that he's been eyeing for a while, not in a scheming way, but just as I'd like that down the road. And to get it, I think it could be, there's a real chance to be a breath of fresh air in an organization that, they always have something cooking, but I feel like, I don't know, there hasn't been a ton of excitement around Long Island lately. Even when they had all the major leaguers this year, I think a lot of it was more, yeah, they're good, but like, we'll see, like, whatever. Like, I think the day-to-day fun of watching a Long Island Ducks game, like, there could be a little more of a pop with it now. And that's what I would hope, at least. So it's something to watch.
Has Long Island not really had that buzz since like 2019?
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
even that championship run they went on where they lost to Lexington, I felt like it was like, oh, and the Ducks are here.
Yeah, like, that's what it felt like. Obviously, Lexington that year in particular was just like, they were them. They took off the second half and then had no problem, getting going again. So, like, that was kind of a given year. But, like, at the same point in time, like, I just haven't really viewed them the same way. Like, even that hot stretch they had to win the first half this year, it was far from like a slam dunk and a given. York had them dead to rights and then, kind of let them up and allowed them back into like the whole competition there. And it still required an incredibly hot run. So, like, if you take away like the 2 or 3 week run they had to get them in position to actually, win the title, they played pretty mediocre baseball, even with the major leaguers.
Yeah, just the energy wasn't always there. And from what I saw, which I saw a lot of their games, just East Coast bias, but also it's the easiest games for me to watch. Yeah, I think there was something lacking, and I think it's progressively lacked more over the last couple of seasons. And I think this is I think Wally moving on was a good move for everybody involved, him and the team. Yeah. And I think Lou coming in is a good move for everybody involved, him and the team. So, yeah, all positive vibes here, man.
Yeah, honestly, I like it a lot too. Lou's a very familiar face, which is nice when you're making that kind of a move from a guy like Wally to Lou. That's positive there. I am curious to know, will Lou still get some at bats, or is he going to be full time on the coaching thing?
He'll occasionally take one when I don't think it's going to be like, oh, keeping him on the roster just in case. It'll be more like, hey, we have a hole in the roster for this one game. Like, we're short a guy due to injury or a roster move, whatever. And he'll hop in and fill it just in case at that point. And that would be my guess. I don't have any inside information on that one, but that would be the guess.
Because I still want to see him get into like 35, 40 games.
Man.
We need that.
And he still delivers. Like, that's the funny thing. I mean,
that's the thing. Like, he's still
340 batting average last year. Was it he only had 100 at bats, but he had 34 hits. That's crazy.
Yeah, and like, how old is he right now?
He is 46, going on 47 next
Moyer-esque.
Moyer-esque, very much so.
So, like, I'm sorry. I want to see that kind of dude keep going. Until he's hitting, like, below 250, I think he should be allowed to keep going.
Yeah, no. And it's not even, like, Pete Rose end of his... Like, if Lou were to call his own number in a game in a big spot right now, at this point in time, it's probably the right move. It's not even a Pete Rose, like, end of career, like, oh, my God, this guy.
Yeah.
Like, insufferable. Like, no, probably makes sense. Do I think he could sustain it over a larger sample size? No. Do I think he's interested in a larger sample size? Also, no. So it's fine.
And, like, if he can do what he's doing in, like, 35 games, 40 games, that's useful. It certainly is.
3 of his last 4 seasons, he has ended with a 300 batting average.
What was the home run numbers on those years, by the way? Just curious.
What was that?
What was the home run numbers looking like, or power number? Either way.
He's got 13 home runs, slugging, and mid to low 400s.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's all right.
But I mean, again, they're not really signing him up to do that.
Yeah.
So it's all good. At this point, I mean, he's more of a, getting on base, knocking around. The only problem you run into is the speed once you're on base.
It's nothing but a pinch runner.
That's where the strategic deployment has to come in. Yeah, either a pinch runner, which is fine, especially the way the league is structured right now with the pinch runner,
double hook,
or structure it where he's maybe back in the lineup with some slower guys behind him before the top end, and fast guys in front of him. So it's not really, it doesn't really matter what's in front of him. It's not catching anybody, but.
But no, you don't want to put the speed behind him and then him slowing him down.
As of now, he is an asset and not a. He's not an issue to have on the bench. Like he's a net gain for the lineup. So, yeah, man, I'd be up for it. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, dude, if you just had a 340 season, even in limited at bats, are you like, yeah, time to hang up the batting gloves, bud? Like, I don't know.
Look, all I'm saying is I want to see Lou Ford the manager trade Lou Ford the player.
Yeah.
How would that work?
I already looked this up, and I'm mostly sure. I can probably double check.
Where's a high point cap with a Long Island jersey?
So yeah, you are one entity. So like you cannot be in separate jobs.
Okay, so this
like
is
when it comes to that.
Yeah, right.
Because you can trade a manager.
Yeah.
So you would trade the manager and the player. Yeah.
So this isn't going to be like fantasy baseball where like you got to draft Ohtani batting and Ohtani pitching.
No, it is not that. So
I don't know. But in any case, so Lou Ford, probably the biggest headliner.
Mm-hmm.
He's out of the way now. Let's move on. Do we want to go Charleston first, or do we want to go over to Hagerstown?
We'll go Hagerstown and then over.
Okay. So we got the inaugural flying boxcar conductor. That'd be right?
Yeah, sure. I like it.
All right. The inaugural conductor, the maestro of Maryland, to completely ignore the other two teams that are in the state, but either way.
Yeah, okay.
One of them, it's like half a team. They're not playing this year. So, and the other one, I mean, they're out in the woods, so it's okay. Mark Mason of Maryland is now in. Formerly of York, formerly of Empire State. He'll run the show there, which honestly, I really, really like that hire.
Yeah. I agree. He's the type of guy who knows enough people to build a roster from scratch. He's the type he can tough it out. Obviously, he just did Empire State for a year.
And made him look respectable, to be honest.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I have historically always been a pro Mark Mason guy. But I'll say, I mean, I do have some reservations surrounding the fact that York did look pretty bad his last season there, and then they looked much better this year under new management. So that does kind of cause me to pause a little bit and maybe worry on behalf of both Mark and Hagerstown. But for the most part, the vibes are good. Guys seem to like him. I know multiple guys who hung around longer than they would have because they like Mark. And I think that's saying something, especially as a uniquely valuable skill set within independent baseball. So, I mean, hell, all year he was able to keep getting guys in to take the bus ride with him, and even got a couple late wins there. So, yeah, I think it's a good signing. There are some, would I be surprised if it is a disaster? No. However, I think this is a good move, even if, they're under 500 team, and after a couple of years he moves on. I think he's a good starting manager for an organization like this, and possibly for the long term as well.
That's what I liked about it too. He seems like the guy that's going to lay the good foundation, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I get the last few years in York weren't, what you'd want them to be. But that could also just be getting complacent in the organization, in the place you've been for a while. Also, the rebound, it could be as much as could be, okay, new management. It could also just be the guy they brought in, which is, Rick Forney. He's a very good manager. So that could also be equal parts for that turnaround there. It just
you're right. Yeah.
I like Mason as a guy that can get the job done early on, have a team that looks competitive, puts a good product on the field, puts the right kind of guys in place for a new organization, and just kind of do things the right way and get you a solid foundation to build off of. And really, that first and possibly even second manager, that's really what you're looking for in guys. And I feel like if you go ahead and you build the right front office staff to work with him, you could actually have a really surprisingly competitive team in year one. So
yeah, and I think they're capable. Like, he's both confident and competent when it comes to navigating an Atlantic League season, which is extremely valuable.
Exactly. So, and like you mentioned last year, the Grays team, he got guys to just keep signing on and staying on for that. And I was really impressed the couple of times I saw the Grays play with the way they played. They played hard. They went first inning, the last inning. They looked surprisingly good. I was not expecting that kind of caliber out of a team that, doesn't really show it on the stat page. The compete level was there when, mid to late August, way the hell out of everything. They had no business to keep on fighting and competing, and they still were. So, I gotta tip my cap to them for that. And that starts with the leadership in the dugout, keeping the troops, motivated to keep going. So even if the worst does come to happen, I feel good about him being able to, use that experience in the Atlantic League and clearly the motivational ability to keep things, afloat and keep them rolling at least well enough.
Yeah, and if I'm going to say, well, look, you can be worried about York before and after, or like while Mace was there and then after he left, it's also fair to say that Empire State team looked much better with Mark running the show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it goes both ways, and I do think at the end of the day, it's a good hire. I mean, they kind of, the vibe, I think they literally even said it on socials, but the vibe from all the statements around it was like kind of a, we got our guy type of vibe. Like there was, I imagine they got from the league a few recommendations on possible options of managers, and it seems like this was who they wanted from pretty early on. So it's good to see them get it done and, get it off on the right foot here.
Yeah, I think there's times you can take that chance and go for the guy that, maybe hit or miss. And then there's times where you just say, go with the guy go with the safe option. And I feel like this is the time where when you're starting off, you go with the safer option. And he's a very safe, solid, reliable option.
Yeah, and the York and Lancaster markets are unique, and the fan bases are unique in the way they interact with their managers. For the most part, I did find that people seemed, even if, I'll say it this way, as I sort of think this through, as I say it, I'm thinking about it. I found that even the York fans, at least in my experience, that maybe didn't like his on-field performance and his managing decisions game to game, they, for the most part, did like Mark. And that's a good thing for a startup organization that's, trying to connect with the community around them. Having a guy who's, likable, approachable, and sort of down to earth like that. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, had the long hair and then cut it for charity in front of everybody at a game. Like he's down. He's that kind of guy. So yeah, I think it's a good step to get things rolling, at least when it comes to the baseball product for Hagerstown.
Absolutely. So on that note, I guess we'll flip it over to West Virginia now.
Yes.
I like the hire. PJ Phillips, for those out of the loop. New manager in Charleston, replaces Billy Horn. Track record of winning where he goes. Won in the Atlantic League. I really don't have much more to say. I like the hire. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
I wonder long term.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expects it to be a long-term arrangement. I think on either side.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to call this kind of what it is, PJ and Andy did not necessarily, it did not end well for anybody and Andy in Lexington when he left. It was sort of trying to find, the diplomatic way of saying it, except I don't like him, so I don't care. Yeah, Andy basically screwed everybody. So it was not option A for, I think, anybody to go work there. And I think that's, the situation Andy found himself in was, I mean, look, him and Mark Minakazi were great friends, like from high school when Mark came to Charleston and then moved on to, the Genomes in Lexington. And he was never even he would not it would appear that he had no interest in working with Andy again in this situation. As an open job, Mark just lost his job with Frederick because they're, going on hiatus. And it seemed that he did not even entertain the idea. So we've got to assume the options for Andy were pretty slim in Charleston. And then on the flip side, PJ, had this playoff run in Jersey. However, really there was no movement, on this, the new contract. And the organization brought in a new GM, but really they were just sort of saying, hey, yeah, you're going to have to take less money next year, and that's not going to work. Dude's got a kid. So, it was kind of like, we're not going to come out and say you got to find another spot to be, but we're not going to, give you a contract you want to sign. And that happened well after jobs were already getting eaten up. So he finds himself in a spot where he's got to make a move quick. And Andy finds himself in a spot where nobody's trying to make that move to him. And, I don't think it was PJ's number one option, I'd assume, either, based on the amount of time it took to, make this happen even. But I guess they have found a way to make this work for the time being, and, good for them. Everybody gets what they need for the year. But I will once again go on the record of, if you are listening to this and you're entertaining the idea of working in Charleston, I would not recommend it. There you go. I've been diplomatic about it in the past. I'm kind of tired of being diplomatic about it. I've heard enough from people who were in Charleston last year and people who have been around to be like, yeah, just maybe give that space. But I highly recommend playing for PJ. Everyone loves it. Seeming not everybody, it's impossible, but he's a well-liked manager. So, if you're looking for a guy who's going to, do his best for you, PJ's a good option, but just the
organizational structure leaves something to be desired.
Ooh, well said.
Yeah, I'm good at just kind of come up with.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that for me. I'm so tired of trying to tiptoe the Andy thing. I'm whatever.
Yeah.
He don't listen. And even if he does, what's he going to do?
He's going to fire you again.
Sue me, bro. I heard a rumor about chirping. I don't care. We're fine.
The organizational part of that, because, it does sound like a bit of a shit show. And I'll just focus on the baseball side of things, which is PJ's good. He wins where he goes. So that's probably a positive there. And, we'll see what happens the year after. Because who really knows what the league makeup's going to be in 2025? Because let's be real, there's some teams on shaky ground. We are supposed to have a team come back. Who knows that'll happen? And who knows, they try to cut off the pass and try to steal a market or do something like that, because this league is a bit crazy like that. So for 1 year, who knows? Maybe Charleston can go back to contending. I doubt it, because it's still Charleston. But hey, they got the right guy for the baseball part of things.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing, too, is what makes PJ so interesting is even before I worked with him a bit, I was fascinated by the way he operated, because, he really does operate off of, personal connection, which isn't unusual in Indy Ball, but his personal connections seem to be, fascinating. We saw the lineups he put together in Jersey, and we can talk about whether, I I think he knew it, and him and I talked about it a little bit. Like, I think that was a flawed roster construction in Jersey, but I think that's also partially growing pains of first year in a limited roster league, where you kind of have to construct things in a certain way. But he can bring guys in based solely on who he is. The interesting thing is a lot of those guys who you would count on in that situation are guys who did not have a good time previously interacting with Andy. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. I think still you'll see a lot of familiar faces make their way to PJ and Charleston. I wouldn't be surprised if Philip Irvin makes that kind of move after he had a really promising year this year. There's a few familiar faces I think would track. Still interested to see what Tillman Pugh does this next year, but it's going to definitely add some complication. And I mean, frankly, who knows how many people he wants to even bring into this if it's not going to be a long-term situation, which I'm not saying it's not, but if that ends up being the way it goes and he sees that, he might not want to bring certain people in, like to, get dragged in for a year and possibly get stuck, be on a protected list of Charleston after he leaves. So it's complicated, man. It's more complicated than people think. So definitely a lot to watch.
Absolutely. And we do know one thing for certain, which is Tillman Pugh will not be in Staten Island.
Yeah, dude, that's for sure.
But you know what? Evan Parker. You'd think that's a country singer name, but it's actually the manager of the Ogden Raptors name. In any case, he's replacing Kashmir Champ. Any thoughts?
I mean,
it's the Pioneer League, so I don't bank on any of these guys being here for more than 2 years. Unless your name is Michael Schlatt.
And I'm not counting on a lot of them bringing experience in. I was a little surprised that, this team did just win championship. So I'm trying to think it through, but I guess I was a little surprised that they didn't have somebody with a little more experience on deck. I know they like the little connection, all that, but I don't know. It's fine. I think as good a signing as any. It's maybe, again, I'll remind people that I was covering almost basically exclusively Atlantic League until about this time last year. And this is really my first year with the background of an entire year, following Indy Ball and then diving into the off season, really understanding the coaching carousel market and all that stuff. And it is occurring to me just how difficult the grind is finding a manager in the Pioneer League. Cause the
travel sucks, and the rules are restrictive, and the budgets aren't the same, and you got to really go hard on the scouting because the experience cap on that really means you're grabbing recent college grads and dudes that signed MLB out of high school and then burned out. So you really got to have a good network of guys that know guys. So the job is that much more difficult, and then coaching them is obviously a little bit more difficult when you got guys that are essentially anywhere from 20 to 25. It's a bit different than coaching guys that are mainly 24 to I'd say pretty much everywhere else 30. You're dealing with more recent college grad versus seasoned professional, even if they do have a couple of years of affiliated experience or fall around Indy Ball experience.
Yeah, and I guess I'm honestly having trouble fully verbalizing it just because there's so much that goes into it, but you're right about everything you just said when it comes to, just who you're coaching, first of all. But then it also, because talking to people who were candidates coming out of the American Association, Frontier League, and the Atlantic League this year, I've talked to candidates that have recently left or within the past year and a half, or two left, all three of those leagues. And all of them are I wouldn't take a Pioneer League job if it came to me. Even if they had nothing, they would do something else. And I think a lot of it is, it's where you are, it's the pay, it's the amenities, it's simple things we just talked about, PJ, and whether guys would follow him back into Charleston. If, say, PJ left from Frontier League, which has roster restrictions, he want to take, or at least try to bring a lot of his guys over to a Pioneer League team.
He couldn't.
With the roster restrictions, maybe 2 or 3 of them could come. That's what you're doing. So, you can have all the connections in the world coming out of the Atlantic League or American or even Frontier. it will not get you that far just based on the restrictions. So it's got to be difficult. I mean, it is basically a development league for managers as well, which is good, by the way. It is important like that.
Yeah, it has.
And I don't mean to dunk on the Pioneer League. I think it is extraordinarily valuable that we have a competitive, professional, independent league, which is both for managers. It's not just the affiliated ball. It's
a proving ground.
Building your own roster. It includes actually managing your own game and managing a team that you want to win games, not just develop players, even though that's part of the goal, obviously. That isn't, us. It is not the Pecos League, not done with the Pecos. It is not, one of the leagues that just, they're all one ballpark. It is,
it's not a fly-by-night operation.
Yeah, it is a legit, league with a long history, and now guys have an opportunity to get great experience. And that is, I want to make it clear that I'm not dunking on the Pioneer League. I'm just saying it is time and time again this offseason.
It's just different.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like that's just really what it comes to. And the thing is, too, you can still build great teams in the Pioneer League. Like, there was points where I know I ranked high enough to get them on the graphic, teams from the Pioneer League, because, well, what Missoula does at times is really impressive. What Billings was able to do was really impressive. But, like, at the same point in time, like, they're artificially capped to be like, you're never going to be as good as, like, the best Frontier League team, and certainly not the best American or Atlantic League team, just on the basis of the best teams in those leagues probably going to have 2 or 3 guys minimum that played in the majors. At least one of them is probably going to have significant majors time, and all of them are just going to be more physically developed and more of a seasoned professional mindset than a kid that just came out of like D2, D3, NAIA. Like, it's just the reality of it. It's the difference between a dude that's figuring out how to be a pro and a dude that's figuring out how to get back to the highest levels of baseball. That's what it comes down to. And like you said, having a proving ground for guys to figure that out, to build out a career, whether that's playing the game, managing the game, or, physically in the front office end of things, is still important to do. And there is still the opportunity to do great things with it. It's just like, it's a lot different. And to ask guys that have already kind of made their bones on it to kind of take a step down, in a sense, to go back to the proving ground and go back to long bus travel with okay accommodations and just kind of like all right pay is a big ask for guys, especially when you look around and a lot of the other more proven seasoned guys are, they're 40 and up. They don't want to do that. They really don't. And especially the guys that are like in their 60s and up. What the hell do you want to be doing, 12-hour bus trips for on the regular? You don't. So like, that's fine. So you're going to find younger guys that are more willing to do that because they got to, cut their teeth somewhere. And that's here.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I guess I'll say in summary, like, it is difficult, but it is also, it's difficult for everybody involved but it's not really supposed to be easy. It's the Pioneer League. It's step one in, the legitimate professional baseball ladder of Indy Ball. Like, it is where you prove yourself. So you go there, you prove yourself, and if you show out, you probably will not be there long.
Yeah. Go there and we'll weed out the people that really want to do this.
All that to say, best of luck to Evan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it'll be fun.
we got way off topic on him. I felt bad about that.
Yeah, about Evan. I'm like, what's the name of Parker, though? Like,
that sounded terrible because it sounded like I was like, well, what do you think about Evan? I was just like, well, it's tough to get a good manager. That's not what I meant. That's not how I wanted that to go.
Yeah, but any case, Parker has experience on the staff. Ogden knows their people. I feel confident about it. Ogden's well ran. So, like, if they have confidence in him, I'll have confidence in him there. Also, other piece of Pioneer news to wrap up, Chuck Nabashu, he will be returning to Grand Junction. So,
yes, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Where to from here, man? We got a lot.
I know. We got a lot on that coaching carousel there. But
so I'll recap real quick. So to recap, the remaining open jobs, we got Gastonia open, We have Lexington seemingly open. New England open. Joliet seems to be open as well.
Although rumor has it that may be filled in Joliet, but I still have only soft confirmation on that.
Okay.
Only one person's told me.
Question marks there.
Yeah, but that may be filled.
Jersey
is
open. There's been some sort of rumor that Sussex County could also be open, but we haven't gotten no confirmation on that. But
that's
the other rumor that we're hearing is we could see Bobby Jones coming back to New Jersey.
Davy Jones.
The presumed thing. So we'll see. We'll see what
Jones
if we have the return of Bobby Jones. Then Tri-City still has the opening as well. So we do have some high-profile openings out there. We also have, some of our sketchiest organizations in Indy Ball still looking, which is not surprising, between Gastonia, Lexington, and New Jersey. Lots to keep an eye on, man. Still a lot, man. It's been a crazy offseason, but still got some questions left to answer.
Oh, yeah, and also Tommy Thompson, almost forgot to mention, Tommy Thompson has now signed on to go to Glacier to join the Paul Fletcher staff, too.
Yes, that's right.
So I feel like that's important to mention just because we have a former manager at Great Falls, right?
Yeah.
So former Great Falls manager joins that staff. I think that also helps Fletch out a little bit, too, when you have a guy that's been in this league for a little bit, kind of joining up there, and you have a lot more experience on that staff, which is likely a positive thing. And I have received feedback from some players saying that, Thompson's a good guy to play under. So,
yeah, I've heard this. I've actually heard the same. Yep. So there you go. There's a good bit of endorsement there.
Yeah. And Glacier's already building something pretty solid last year. Obviously, regime change a little bit there, but maybe there's something there. Maybe a playoff berth this year for them.
Yeah,
hard to say over there.
So much has to go right. Again, talk about that league. There's so much that has to go right. So much like creative roster building every single year just seems exhausting.
Yeah. Plus, you also kind of in the north check off okay, Missoula's getting at least one of these spots.
Right. Good luck. You're battling with that, and who knows how else you're gonna have to play. Gotta check your schedule.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That's what's weird about the Pioneer. It's there's a couple of orgs where you're just yep, they're gonna have a playoff spot, and they're gonna have a playoff spot. Have fun battling for 2 remaining spots.
Mm-hmm. So good luck for a wild card.
Yep. Hope and pray. But
oh god.
Any case, American Association. Let's see. Thankful for. You know what? Honestly, the Dogs playoff run. I liked it. I thought it was very entertaining. They were a surprise team in a sense where you looked at the flip side, and I'm not sure you really would say, yeah, this is a team that can contend for a title. And they even played Kansas City pretty hard, I will say. They started getting a little full of themselves, the fans, that is, towards the end of that playoff run. Before Kansas City reminded them, hey, remember your place. Mm-hmm. So, that said, though, it provided a nice little breakup in the monotony before we got back into, expected outcomes across the rest of the board.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to think through where I want to go with this.
Yeah, see, it's kind of hard. It kind of is hard, how you want to approach it.
I'm with you. I think I got one. I'm just making sure that I don't really have anything, obvious that I'm just missing out on here because I feel like an idiot, but relatable. Yeah. You know what? If I'm Sioux Falls, if I'm a Sioux Falls Canaries fan, I am just thankful for feeling like we're heading in the right direction. It's been so rough. If you look back, I think it was between, 2013 and 2017, they were always in double digits when it came to their final standing spot. And then it looked like they were kind of getting it together a little bit, but then 2020, which that's a weird year anyway.
Yeah, pandemic year.
They had a winning season, and it all of a sudden looked like, maybe, and then it was just a train wreck for 2 straight seasons. And now above 500, making a run, feeling confident Mike Meyer enough to get him a contract extension. Like, that's a big deal, man. Like, especially in a tough league and a league where, you know, you were struggling to make the playoffs for a while. It feels good to have not just the same one for the league, to not just have the same people, but also like for that, you know, if you're a fan of the Canaries, you've seen some tough baseball. you
remember when they were the Pheasants.
You've seen some long games, and it's good to see, you know, I don't know, it sounds dramatic to say a long-suffering fan base, but a fan base who has not had a lot to cheer for over the past decade, starting to catch some momentum and starting to have some reasons to be optimistic. Like, that's fantastic. I love that. Yeah. If you ever ask, I sometimes get asked, like, do I cheer for certain teams? I don't. I usually cheer for, like,
storylines. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if I want something that feels good, and, you know, it feels good to see Sioux Falls performing well. So I'm thankful for it. And I'm sure Sioux Falls Canaries fans are thankful for the positive result that they ended up coming out with and getting Mike signed a contract extension.
You just root for the dopamine hit, you drug addict.
Baby, yo, it's that and Schadenfreude, man. I'm all chaos.
Yeah. I just want to point out our whole American Association thing that could be summed up with the one kid in the pool meme, where, like, Chicago's the kid that's being held, the kid that's drowning is the Canaries, and the body in the chair underneath the water is currently the Gary South Shore Railcats.
Oh, Gary, I know. I don't know what to do with that, though. What we are doing is moving to the Atlantic League. So I got to find a team for myself here.
On one hand, I want to see you pick Gastonia just for, like, thank you for the content. But
I mean, yeah, that's that. But let's see.
I'm trying to think here.
I mean, if I'm a Staten Island Ferryhawks fan and look, there has not been an official announcement, I'm just thankful for Hummer Bush.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. I mean, that's not overcomplicate things. Like, that, if you were an invested party or fan in the Staten Island Ferryhawks, you were like, oh my God, are we going to suck forever? And look, there's still a chance. But you have a new team in your division this year. Yeah, you have another new team in your division this year. Sure, you got to deal with Long Island still. They have a new manager. We'll see. But, you know, Lou is basically, you know, extending the same, you know,
business as usual.
Management, essentially. York was hot last year. Southern Maryland stays Southern Maryland. But they're in the South. So you're at least out of the way there. So you got Lancaster and you got Hagerstown. So there's an opportunity if you can beat up Hagerstown a bit when we get together. Plus, you look good toward the end of the year. Looks a lot better. Homer Bush seems to be an adult who knows how to bring players in and keep them there and manage a game.
Adult.
I mean, look, that's the highest compliment you can give at this point. So,
Shading
if I'm
Fonzie?
a Staten Island fan, I'm like looking at my whatever it is, like 10-game package or whatever you can buy from them and being like, you know, this might, you know, I might be sticking around for all 9 innings more often than not this year.
Like, I know you meant that positively, but that was going back to, don't worry, they won't see you in the dark territory there.
Baby steps out here.
He's an adult. You may stay for the whole game now. Go buy a 10-game package.
I mean, it's kind of weird that they have not been paying me to do this kind of marketing for them because I feel like I'm nailing it.
You better post this segment on Facebook.
Oh, God.
That's all I'm going to say.
How else will we move tickets?
That's what I'm thankful for in the Atlantic, like Facebook. Although I will say, you know, Lancaster will not be a problem in the first half. Second half, they're an issue, but first half, not a problem there. The Ducks.
Every team in that division should be thankful for the second half Stormers because they at least have a chance to win the first half.
Exactly. And you figure Hagerstown's a crapshoot. So really, it's a matter of, can I be better than York and can I be better than Long Island? You figure Long Island will, at some point in the first half, get rated, probably in May. And they'll take them a couple of 3 days to really figure how that's going to work and then reintegrate the lineup. So you'll have probably about a week to 2 week period where you could really take advantage and start to build out a lead on them. And that's just a matter of seeing what York does. And as I keep using the Iron Sheik tweet, they're going to mess it up, jabroni. So, like, they'll choke down the stretch. So, realistically, if you can just hang around, keep it interesting, play above 500 ball, and have 1 or 2 really good weeks with no blow-ups, you're right there. Now, yeah, that's probably a lot to ask. But
that was a long list.
Yeah. But you had some really solid players last year, Aguilar being the one that immediately comes to mind. Mm-hmm. But, if you can build off of that, maybe get another couple of pitchers that really, can make it work. Hey, I like what I see there. Kevin Krause showed some promise too. He looked like he's adapting fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, great, but fine. There's usable pieces you can bring back for next year. And if you can retain a large chunk of that roster, you retain Homer Bush, you start to really build something out, I think there's something there. So I would agree with that. Staten Island is a solid one to pick there.
Yeah, I got moments.
Yeah, exactly. See, blind squirrel.
We had in the Frontier League.
Oh, well, I still got to do the thing for the...
okay. I thought that was you. I thought you just piggyback mine, which I'm like, I was fine with. But yeah, I respect you going.
I don't steal, I don't steal content, This is going to be kind of tongue-in-cheek, admittedly, but the Silver Anniversary team is my thing here. It started off so really, really strong. It was consistent. It was a positive thing. It was celebrating the league's history. It was really, especially early on, showing guys that are firmly Atlantic League type players, really acknowledging them, really celebrating them. Obviously, the timing didn't quite work out. We didn't land the plane good. It landed in the Hudson. So, that's not ideal. But, that said, the takeoff was great. In-flight experience was pretty good. Then some turbulence forced it out of the sky. But, until then, it was really good. It was a really solid idea. And it's just a little bit of a shame that they couldn't quite land it and do something. But, hey. It's still my thing, because I really liked it. I thought it was a really positive thing while it was being done right.
Yeah, I would have had a hard time identifying as positive, but I respect that you just went for it.
Look, I understand, execution is a large chunk of this, but for a while they were doing it well. Then they kind of gave up on it. And then they were covertly hey, we're going to finish this. Slowly.
Oh, by the way. Just thinking they never stopped.
Yeah, it's just like that kid that never turned in that homework assignment. And then a couple weeks later, they just slip it into the bottom of the homework pile. Maybe she'll just act like she didn't see it in the box and I'll be able to play it off there. And then you get it back. Yeah. And the grade was at 80, but then you see minus 40 points for late. And you're
I thought they let it slide.
Around here late. Part of me wants to say the Grays right now because I really respect the Grays. I respect their commitment to the grind. They weren't switching teams. They weren't chumps. They did not run from the grind. So I respect that. They really did improve their record. They played a lot of close games. They played a lot of hard games. So I respect that team a lot. But I don't think I can pick the Grays because their very existence is not a positive.
Right. Yeah, that is the complicated note there.
Yeah. So they made the best of the worst possible situation. But unfortunately, they are still the worst possible situation. So scratch them from the record. I'm thankful for the Quebec fans.
Okay, yeah.
That fan base is really into it. You get the sense that they care. They understand the game. They understand and appreciate that these guys are out here playing to win. They go hard in the paint. They show up all the time. The genuine excitement you hear whenever you're listening to a game or they post clips and you hear that pop of the crowd, it doesn't feel like a minor league game. It feels almost like a major league environment. And so I appreciate that dedication. I appreciate the fanaticism or fanaticalism. And overall, it's hard not to be thankful for fans like that make independent ball special.
Yeah. Man, that was a really good one.
Yeah.
I got to think this through a little bit now.
As with everything, my best ideas come half-assed.
Yeah, shoot.
The ones I plan are terrible, but the ones that just happen, great.
I'm thankful for the Tri-City Valley Cats. Like, just as an organization at this point. I mean, I think the legitimacy they bring into the Frontier League, not that it's not legitimate, but like
outside legitimacy.
Truly, I think there are very few organizations throughout Indy Ball that like their presence in their league elevates the teams around them. And I think the way Tri-City appears to take it pretty seriously, like the on-field and seemingly off-field like product for everybody, the fact that they do have good local news coverage, the fact that they are committed for at least a few more years to the league, and they seem to, the things that they seem to be pushing, with those negotiations are things that are good for the entire league, like things like getting rid of the Grays. Again, this is just what they've been rumored to be talking about, like getting rid of the Grays, shortening up travel, just getting the crossing the T's, dotting the I's, getting things a little tighter in that league. That's great. It concerns me that the league is moving the direction of a lower player salary cap, but I am still, even through that, encouraged by the very presence of Tri-City that they're continuing to kind of, I think, raise the game of a lot of the teams around them. I've been really impressed by what they've brought to this league in their years since they've exited affiliated. Even now, the fact they're taking their time with the manager hire is a good sign.
Oh yeah, the professionalism's off the charts.
Yeah, it's something that I think if I'm the Atlantic League, I look at and I go, damn, that would be nice. But the Frontier League scored, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'd 100% agree with that. I mean, they got probably the best ran organization out of all the ones that got cut free. And
yeah, I think so.
That's a testament to them, and they certainly help out a lot. And as far as your weekend series, they announced start times and firework dates and the like today.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
keep an eye on it for sure. I'll be making a little more detailed travel schedule this year. I'm excited to get around to some new parks.
I think you should post the schedules, that way you can have the groupies show up.
I'll think about it.
It's fun getting recognized by random people.
It is.
And by fun, I mean a little distressing.
Yeah, if you ever see me, by the way, out at a game, people say, hey, I'm friendly. I don't bite mostly.
He looks like a generic country singer fan.
I don't know if that's fair, but
I didn't mean it derogatory. I mean, like, it's just the situation.
Felt a little derogatory, gotta be honest. Anyhow.
So I'm thankful for Missoula. In the Pioneer League, I'm thankful for Missoula. They are
I am too.
They're consistent. They are, honestly, they feel more like a Frontier League team to me than the Pioneer League team. They run themselves a little bit differently. And, maybe it's because they had a solid brand beforehand. Maybe it's because they had a lot of support beforehand. Maybe it's just because they're a very active group. I don't know what it is, but they never really disappoint, unless in the postseason the last couple of years. But, outside of that, they really are a consistent team. And I think that consistency is part of their brand, where they're going to be good, they're going to be fun, you're going to enjoy it. And that just consistency alone in this field, I appreciate.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I'll be honest, like my initial instinct was to say Grand Junction for their dedication on the other side to just being complete chaos, and just putting up football scores in every game.
Full Ace of Spades mode.
Yeah. But I think I'm going to go to a team that, honestly, I dunked on earlier in the year. But I was genuinely impressed, as things developed, by the Northern Colorado Owls, the NoCo Owls, man. I don't think they did anything exceptional, if I'm honest. I don't think, it's not like this is not a congratulations, you made it. But it is they were facing a real garbage fire early in the year with their lighting situation at that field.
And the uniforms thing.
the uniforms thing, the field in general is
interesting,
not up to standard, frankly. But throughout the year, though, like we saw less and less issues come up with them. I mean, I was ready for that to be the team. And look, I'm not saying it was great. It was a Pioneer League season, and honestly, I don't know the Pioneer League guys well enough because a lot of them are younger. They don't know my content, so they don't know that they can just reach out to me and chat about stuff. But I did hear from some Pioneer League teams, or Pioneer League players about issues they had during the year. And, I've talked to Pioneer League players about what their experience was like when they visited NOCO. And honestly, everyone said it's nothing crazy. It's not ideal, but it's like, it wasn't like, oh my God, you got to hear this. Like the DMs I get regarding some other teams. Like, honestly, that thing could have been a legitimate embarrassment that stuck with them and like made it difficult to operate down the road as well. And it wasn't. They stopped the bleeding on it. They managed to get through the year, reasonably fine. They won some games at some points, and they came out of it without embarrassing themselves. And honestly, it looked like that sounds like a low bar, but really they turned the ship around on the way to doing that. They really looked so on the way to doing that. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the train wreck of the season. Like this is it. Like and early. Like we're talking like week 3. I was like, this is going to be a mess. Like, is this team going to make it? Are they going to need to find a new field? Like, what is going on? No, low drama throughout the rest of the year, which is so hard to manage. Maybe they benefit a little bit from being so far out there, but I think generally speaking, the chaos that did happen, we heard about. So I think it would really hide it.
Then also they handled it well too. They sent out statements about it and said, hey, look, this happened and we're fixing it.
Yeah.
They didn't run from it.
Which is a lesson to everybody. Do just acknowledge it and say you messed something up and something's not the way you want it and you're working to make it better. It's so much better than not releasing a statement or releasing a statement that everybody remotely near anything related to your league knows is a lie. Like, just when things look amateurish, the best thing you can do is show that you're a professional.
But what
and if they did that?
But I have an important caveat there. What happens if the local sports anchor vision in says that is not true? That's not happening.
Oh, the guy who was just excited to go hang out Carolina Panthers training camp?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, well, now he's in Houston now, so he's our problem. He can go to the Pecos if he would like.
Oh, so he's a Stroud boy now.
Yes, you could say that. I'll give you that one. I just, don't even bring that one up. But another reason I'm excited for why I'm thankful for Tri-City is just actual good local coverage. But that's it. That's what I got. I was really impressed and glad that NOCO didn't become like an eyesore on the Pioneer League as they were trying to, get their momentum going still in this Indy Ball grind.
Definitely. And I do want to point out one thing. When you said, I don't have too many Pioneer players I talk to, they're a little bit younger and don't know my content. The only thing I thought of was, how do you do, fellow kids?
Same energy. I hate to admit it, but yeah, very much so. Like,
do you kids want a refreshing surge?
I mean, I know the lingo. Did that game get banged, kids? Like, no. It's not a vibe. I'm just barely hanging on, man. I'm like,
he murked that ball, kids. For real, on God.
Anybody down for some Fortnite after the game?
Not your grandpa's Indy Ball show.
It might be though.
No, grandpa can't work that kind of technology.
Shoot, man. I saw a report about a certain news station that a literal piece of their business plan that was leaked was that it's just that people are too old to change the channel. So we're fine, which is amazing. That's kind of where I'm aiming eventually. In my slow evolution toward the Ken Burns of Indy Ball.
We've given up the hopes of being John Boy. If I could be Ken Burns.
Hey, made possible by viewers like you.
Oh, God. I can just see it now. Can I listen to the show on my Walkman?
You can see it, and so will the 4 other people who are watching what I do.
Oh, God. So, in other words, to wrap this up, we're thankful for Ken Burns baseball.
Yeah, sure, why not? Actually, yeah, honestly. God, it's so good. Hey, when I get asked what my favorite movie is, I say Ken Burns baseball. I don't care if it's 24 hours long. That's what makes it perfect. Also, I'm always kicking it around, trying to figure out if I can make it happen, basically start to finish or start to modern day history of Indy Ball. Yeah. At some point, maybe.
The dream.
It's, literally not to be an ego play, but literally who else would do it?
I still believe in buying the land that surrounds Skyland Stadium and putting up a museum there. And them there cornfields. That's how you Midwestern people talk, right?
No, I'm not What? Don't bring me into this.
Hey, anything that's west of the Delaware, Midwestern.
Oh, Lord. Jersey people.
Look, I'm not even big on saying anything west of the Raritan.
Oh, I know that.
Bastards. I don't trust them. Not enough people out there to trust.
I want the episode just to end with just fading out as you just continue on this little mini rant.
Just ranting those Warren County and Sussex County people, they ain't right. Can't trust them. I went out. There's dudes out there that just
you should see the way they eat their pork roll.
First off, Taylor Ham. It's the northern part of the state. Let's get that shit straight out the bat. Secondly, I've gone out there before, and there's just dudes out there that got hunks of tree there, and they're just doing wood carvings with a chainsaw. Admittedly, some of them are cool, but other ones are just weird.
Hey man, you gotta get to the cool ones by making the weird ones.
Okay, I don't know why I need a bear in a bikini though.
Because it's hot, bro. What are you talking about?
That's how we end the show.
Yep, there it is.
We'll figure out what hockey team you're rooting for next week.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Anybody else I can cross off the list?
No, I don't think so. I'm still figuring a couple things out. I'll have more time to watch some hockey. I was at a couple games in the past couple weeks. I'm at Reading tomorrow night, so I'm getting around.
Wow. We're doing the ECHL tour.
Oh yeah, baby. Know what I'm about.
Oh, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. That's what's gonna happen here.
Maybe.
I feel like I should have plugs, but I also feel like that just ruins the flow right now.
I don't need to plug anything right now.
All right, then I ain't gonna plug anything either. So.
I'll probably start bringing some transaction highlights to the party the next few weeks.
I was gonna say, don't you have a transaction page you wanted to plug?
Yeah, if anybody wants, I got it pinned at the top of the Indy Ball Nation Twitter account. But it's also on the transactions highlight, if you understand how Instagram works. On my Indy Ball Nation page, there's a highlight which just has a link to the Google sheet, but it'll be an ongoing sheet updated every day of the transactions throughout the years. This gets hard to track, between all the different leagues. So I consolidate off all the Indy leagues, and whenever they post transactions, I get them updated onto there as soon as I can, so that you can follow along and kind of get a feel for where some of your favorite players are, what your favorite team is up to, or if you're a coach, who the hell is available, because it's kind of hard to figure out what's happening. I know there's the master sheet that goes out with free agents, but I feel like by the time most people get that thing, it's the date. So tracking it as best we can here. But that's mainly what I've got here.
Really, you're out here doing the Lord's work because none stop you from doing the actual Lord's work.
Not wrong. And isn't that beautiful?
It really is.
Shout out, Sister Sheila.
Until next time, she'll have to play ball.